Today I thought I'd dive into Matt Walsh's question, what is a woman? And so I'm 55. I have 3 grown children. I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies where I translated 12th century Taoist texts about pregnancy, childbirth, and menstruation from classical Chinese into English. Because my whole life, I've been trying to figure out what is a woman. So I'm really glad that Matt asked. And so I'm like, I've had the same question because I was born in 1970, and that was a time of great change, sexual revolution, a lot of social activism, a lot going on. And so, a lot of changes. So, that was seriously in question. So let's dive into that today. But I'm Carrie Glazer Bazaglo, reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. I am the divine feminine. And if you're wondering who JC is, he speaks for himself, but I met my JC in my childhood, and he's currently the head of global security at GoDaddy, former FBI. And he takes care of my security, so I speak as I need to. Okay, so let's dive into my story a little bit. What is a woman? I was born in 1970, and my parents got divorced in 1976. My dad was a workaholic, my mom was an alcoholic, and I got a first job at 12, second job at 14. I was coached in high school to go to college, get a career, and I don't need a man. And also, it's okay, you should be sexually promiscuous. Like, sleep with whoever you want. Go for it, have at it, have fun. It doesn't matter, doesn't hurt you. It's good for you. So I went off to college. I got my degrees in Chinese and religious studies. I met my ex-husband in Tibet in 1993. But what I didn't understand then is that I was a masculine woman, so I attracted men and they're feminine. I had not healed from my childhood trauma, which was profound, and it's all over my website if you want to check it out. Actually, under Origin Story. And then he was born as feminine. He's from Israel, and had a traumatic life. And we went about our business, but I was controlling and he was avoiding. And we were married 10 years, but we got a divorce. So at 35, I still didn't know what it meant to be a healthy feminine woman. I had no idea. And so my whole life I had no idea until I started healing 10 years ago, and then I started figuring out. But what I thought we would start with today is going over what happens when we don't have healthy femininity. And then I'm going to get into what I figured out of what is healthy femininity. So let's start with what happens when we suppress the feminine, and in this, it just happens. And with my master's degree in East Asian religious studies, I'm a nerd. And so I've kind of dove into this a bit. But, 2,500 years ago, we started FAFOing with femininity. Yahweh in the Bible had a wife named Asherah, but she started disappearing about 2,500 years ago. So you can imagine when Jesus and Mary came along 2,000 years later, it wasn't acceptable for a woman to be a leader, really. Like, she could talk, but she couldn't be equal to a man, So, and 2,000 years ago, my husband was crucified in front of me on the Sabbath, which is feminine time, when the husband would read the Woman of Valor poem honoring the wife in Jewish families in Israel. Then 600 years later, the Pope made me a prostitute. Thankfully in 1969, he made me an apostle. So I thought, if he's going to be nice to me, I'll come back in 1970. So then I asked the question, well, what happens when femininity or wisdom is suppressed? We prioritize masculinity, the patriarchy, and in Europe, there was a huge imperial movement starting in the 1st, 2nd century, which is masculinity and structure and control. And then we moved, compassion, nurturing, forgiveness, all the feminine qualities, and institutionalized them in the Christian church in the 4th century. And it was just about control and structure. We can't do everything at once, right? We had to bring out the masculine, and now the feminine is coming back for balance, because before there was the masculine, there was the feminine. was very strong. And but when women can, heal in ways men can't control, when men have feelings about women they can't control, and men are in charge, we tell you what to do, and they don't understand the dynamic between men and women, then we get, what I say, we win the Darwin Award. So we get controlling and punishing religions emerge. I mean, forgiveness, compassion, nurturing, creativity. These are all right brain activities. These are feminine activities. The left brain is masculine, right? The structure, the logic, the authority, the hierarchy, the planning, the strategizing. Both need to be fully functional to have a mature human being. It doesn't mean half and half. Men are 90% in their left brain to be healthy and hormonally balanced. Women, 90% in their right brain to be hormonally balanced. And look at all the hormonal issues and pregnancy issues that we're having today, because we told women they could be men. And in feminism, in my opinion, is one step towards trans. That's how we got there. So that emerged because women were, the wisdom was suppressed. It was all about knowledge. Knowledge is everything. Control, structure. Okay. Then, women burned at the stake. Remember, I was reading an article about a woman in the 16th century came out saying self-love creates heaven on earth, which is exactly what I'm saying. Burned at the stake. First woman burned at the stake. Was that me? Probably. Because why? How can I ask anyone else to do what I won't do? Yeah, leadership is gnarly. It is. Endless wars, atomic bomb. Why are we killing people over religious relic? Like we're not, like humans aren't important. Like this piece of cloth from 1,000 years ago is all important, but it is. And people died. Sexual assault, right? Well, I have a right to women. They aren't as valuable as me, so I need many women to show my value, right? Like if they're not as valuable, anyway. Extreme mental illness. Why? Because femininity is what heals. And I'll quote a Cherokee proverb. It's in my book. Says, a woman's highest calling is to connect a man to his soul so he can unite with source. It's the internal work that the church claims, right? That's kind of a challenge. And a man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she can walk the earth unharmed. Okay? So that internal work is feminine work. But it's gnarly work. You've got to rupture the emotions and then repair the emotions. Like now in psychology, it's well known that the healthiest relationships are the relationships that can rupture the emotions and repair. That can go through those deep valleys and highs together and not leave each other and stay together and work together. That's where the goodness is can we get through our darkest moments together successfully? And if you can't, then you get stuck in fear, guilt, and shame, like I did for so many years. Financial fraud. There's no, it's all me, and no consideration for anybody else. Wisdom is about relationships. How do you relate to yourself? How do you relate to others? Wisdom is internal. And our relationship with ourselves is the basis for all other relationships. When I hate myself, I pour that onto others. Like the guy in Starbucks screaming about a muffin not being heated, he came into Starbucks with that self-hate, and he's going to leave with it, okay? He carries it in his heart. Broken children. Because, you get broken families like my mom. My mom was in her masculine and drinking. So I'm not being modeled how to process my emotions, how to be the emotional center of the family. My mom was teaching me and modeling that I don't need a man in my life every day, the divorce. I don't need a man. Well, so now it's supposed to be a man and a woman at the same time. Like it's the gender identity confusion because what feminism brought. Now we needed feminism to understand and see ourselves and to give women an opportunity to get out in society and speak. Like how could I come out, I have a YouTube channel, have a degree, understand psychology and everything else if women hadn't come out through feminism. So we needed feminism to see ourselves. But in doing so, it's kind of like we were like our last rebellion against the suppression of femininity, I will call feminism, and it's always darkest before the dawn. you know, if you want to climb Mount Everest, you have to do an equal deep dive into yourself to pull out all that self-belief and self-confidence through years of training so that you can get to the top of that mountain. You have to surrender before you can climb, okay? So we surrendered to repressing femininity, to repressing wisdom, and we got to where we are today. Lots of problems, okay? So let's get back to me and what I consider what is a woman and what is femininity, what is healthy femininity. And I've gotten that into a lot in my book. Well, my book is called My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain. Because I've been in pain my whole life. I had 35 years of debilitating lower back pain because my womb, my sacrum, was screaming at me from trauma I didn't remember. And so I didn't know what to do with it, so I just suffered. And I thought it was a structural problem, but it was really an emotional problem because our soul speaks to us through our body, okay? So 10 years ago, I started healing and bringing out my femininity. And I remember the first time in 2022, I truly felt admiration for a man. And I was like, oh, I've been missing out on this my whole life. Wow. You know, and I was attracted to firefighters, two fire academy instructors into my life. And so I was watching like the Coast Guard swimmers and yay, I was like so getting into healthy masculinity, like they're rescuing people, let's cheer them on, you know. And at 52 years old, I could finally feel how great it felt to admire a man. Okay, so just an example. And so what is femininity? It's the right brain activities. It's the forgiveness, the compassion, the nurturing, the creativity, the intuition, okay? It just naturally comes out of us. Like so many women are screaming about, well, white man, a white man. Women are intuitive. The white man in Europe created imperial Europe, institutionalized it in Christianity, and you know, there you get the patriarchy came out of Europe. So, and you know, other places too caught on, but mostly came out of Europe. So I'd say my first enlightenment experience, that's the question I asked. I was getting at, like, we're such an imbalance. Like, what is the problem? So I remember it was a year and a half ago in March of 24, and I heard enlightenment, enlighten my head. I'm like, zzz, you know, kind of freaking out. And then I asked the universe, well, what do I need to learn? And it showed me the imbalance between the masculine and the feminine. Why? Because we've ascribed all like creation and orchestration or execution, which is like planning and directing as well as killing, to men. I'm like, well, I have a womb, creative is right brain. What happens if we balance out the feminine with the masculine? That creativity, femininity goes before masculinity, and we have two roles, but equal roles. And I know we've said he, God, but has that kind of contributed to our view that, men are superior and men can do more than women. And so then I explored that and I'm like, okay, well, if we're equal, then the woman occupies the center of the relationship and the masculine occupies the orbiter of the relationship. Like if she's the emotional center, right? And she connects to source, to God, to the universe, because women, we're designed for that. We're designed to have that much stronger energetic charge, emotional charge. Our souls express ourselves through our emotions because our nervous system is far more robust. Okay, men's nervous systems are far more fragile, evidenced by a higher infant mortality rate. And when women get I had this done, so I talked to the neurologist when they tested my nerves, because I have nerve damage in my neck from one of the jobs. And he told me, he's like, the amount of charge I have to put in your nerves would make men throw up. Okay, so men are designed to kind of react faster. That's the protection. They're not like, well, maybe they're gonna come. Nope, done, dude. You're not getting here. They got to have that really fast ability to react. So they break from the nervous system, from the steady nervous system, to react a lot faster than women. But that's by design, because they're designed to provide and protect. Right. So first thing, what is a woman? a woman occupies the center of a relationship. She is the emotional center. Okay, she is the one, she focuses on relationships. There's tons of studies showing that women are naturally gravitate towards relationships, which all starts with our relationship from self. And then men naturally gravitate towards things, providing and protecting. Okay, and knowledge. Knowledge is things, relationships is wisdom. So it really makes sense the way that it's just been divided, right? Emotional intimacy is where mental health is created and sustained. So here we get down here, in this extreme mental illness, this is what happens. When we want women to be sweet and innocent and not terse, well then I can't draw boundaries with my man and show him himself. Why was it necessary for you to have sex with 5 women? Why was it necessary for you to cheat on me? Not in public, home. Ask questions, help him see himself. If I can't be terse, I can't draw boundaries with my kids. I can't draw boundaries with my husband. I can't help everyone see themselves. So when we took away the terse or the kind of, the witches, right? Well, we don't know what they're doing and we can't control them, so kill them. That woman saying self-love creates heaven on earth. Oh, the church says the cross is the only ladder to heaven. Kill her. That's the Darwin Award. That's the quick reaction, no wisdom. Hang on a second. How do people become happy? What is heaven? Where is heaven? If heaven is somewhere else and you have to behave to get there and there's no proof that you actually get there, but we make people believe it and then we control them, that sounds pretty good, right? But, I'm here as the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene to tell everyone that wisdom came from me, but we couldn't come out with it. So Jesus went and talked wisdom. A lot of wisdom is ascribed to Jesus, right? But if he's in his femininity all day long, then he's not healthy. Why did he get crucified at 33 years old? There's a lot of questions we could ask here. So healthy femininity is a woman who occupies the center of a relationship. A woman who knows how to process her emotional wounds and can help everyone do the same. A woman who knows how to model healthy self-love and then holds everyone in their family to that account. Because when people love themselves, they aren't ramming their cars into ICE agents, okay? They're not, killing 400,000 Americans with their drug trafficking. They're not, killing people like in communist China. 50 million people died during the famine. These things aren't happening because we have balance between femininity and masculinity, okay? So a woman gives birth, home with the kids, homeschooling with the kids. And it doesn't mean, once the kids are older, she can't have another job. But when the Industrial Revolution took textiles out of the home and took away women's work and put it in a factory and then separated her from her children, and we wonder, without the mom at home taking care of the kids, we wonder why we have broken children and mental illness. I mean, the woman's body with that far more robust nervous system is physiologically designed to help her children up to the age of 7 for healthy kids to regulate their nervous system. I mean, I was taught to let my baby cry it out, but that's a remnant of the Industrial Revolution separating mothers from children. And I wouldn't recommend it today because that is the whole job of the mother, to keep the baby close so the baby does it safe and it learns how to regulate its nervous system mirrored by the mother. That's internal work for the child. That's mother's work. I mean, there's all kinds of studies showing now that when a husband and wife are at home, the wife hears inside noises he doesn't hear, and he hears outside noises she doesn't hear, because he's biologically designed for protection and she's biologically designed for relationships. So if we think leaving the father at home is the same as leaving the mother at home, we're batshit crazy. We just are. We just don't understand human physiology. Like Carolyn Levitt, she does a great job there in her, in the White House press room. But she left her baby at 4 days old and experiences a lot of stress. The husband doesn't naturally, calibrate the son's nervous system. She's not nursing him. And a picture on Mother's Day is a bottle in his mouth while she's typing on the computer. That's not healthy femininity, and that's just getting modeled from the White House. But we're working out of things, and we're it takes time. It takes time to make changes. But women at home, they could, like, let's say you have small kids, you like baking. Well, maybe you bake for a local coffee shop, but you're home with the kids, because that's what's to create a healthy family. And you're home for your husband to support him and him being healthy in his mental health, him, his self-care. Your family's eating well, and you spend time with your family. I mean, before TV at night, people would read books together and play games together. It was family time. And we just lost all that because we're so busy, with all of our accolades. My kid has to do this, and my kid has to do that in school, and and my work. And there's no time for self-reflection and self-care and self-soothing. There's no time to surrender to your emotions. So femininity is the surrender, and masculinity is the climb. And so one of my lessons in my 6 divine feminine self-love strategies is learning to surf the waves of life. And the feminine is the surrender, and the masculine is the climb. And so in the surrenders, when you pick up momentum, inertia to kind of go into your deeper, darker emotions, and then come out and climb up to your next enlightenment experience, and then you find your wisdom and your knowledge. So the point we're at now is, and I had to accept this, like, why do we need so much darkness? It's the feminine going into the shadow. That's like shamanic work, but it's really feminine work. Is helping people go into their fear, guilt, and shame, corralling themselves in their emotions, looking inside themselves, going, "Oh, I don't know how to apologize because I think people will leave me if I do." Like, that's not logical. If I invert that into wisdom, when I apologize, people want to stay in a relationship because I can admit fault. Oh, okay. But that was my belief until I was 49 years old. And I didn't know that was my subconscious. But when I learned to look into myself, that internal sight, then I could turn my wounds into wisdom, and there I'm on my way. But so we need the women to surrender to the femininity. Like, if a woman wants to flirt with a man, she drops the handkerchief. And then he decides what to do. The drop of the handkerchief is the surrender. Then the man acts and decides what to do. Does he ask her out? Does he give her the handkerchief back? He gets to decide. So equally, we both have a role. And so I think that when understanding that women create and men orchestrate or execute, and that the feminine lane is the creation lane, right? Like, create the opportunity, drop the handkerchief. Right? And the surrender has to come before the action. So the feminine goes first, right? The feminine goes first. So in relationships, we understand that the feminine occupies the center, and the feminine has to surrender so the masculine can climb. And that healthy femininity fuels healthy masculinity with that momentum, propulsion, or inertia you gain on the downhill. It helps you get up, the next hill. So I would say, that's a woman. A woman is healthy in her femininity, understands that she's the center of the relationship. She's the emotional center. She focuses on relationships. She's, the kids are her responsibility in ensuring that they're educated and well taken care of, while the father takes care of the providing and the protecting. Of course, he's involved in the education. But, the more that we learn how to turn self-hate into self-love, we will naturally create heaven on earth, where we have healthy nuclear families, where we're not arguing what is a woman and what is a man. And we naturally unearth, there's a way of things. And I think, when the settlers are taking over, the Native Americans probably explained, look, there's a way of things. 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 will never equal 3, right? And so let's all accept that there is a way of things. That when femininity and masculinity are equally valued, in the universe, in our hearts, then we're going to come into balance, and it won't be embarrassing to say I'm a stay-at-home mother, which was really hard for me, and I wasn't able to be a stay-at-home mother, and it hurt me. Every time I had to go back to work, I noticed that my femininity was gone. The laughter, the joking around, and then the joy turned off. I was about business. I became a man in a woman's body. Again, you know, feminism like that is one step towards trans. And when we mess with our hormones so much and stay in, like, women are in their left brain too much and men are in their right brain too much, then we make poor decisions, and that's like we're going down the rabbit hole, and the end of that rabbit hole was trans and trans kids and cutting off kids' genitals. Like, what the hell? But I had to accept that based on the laws of physics, we have to explore our depths before we can explore our heights. And when we expand emotionally, which is what we're here to do, to mature as souls, we have to go down, right? Surrender before we can go up. So one thing I'm doing is I've expanded my emotional range, and as the divine feminine on the planet, when I experience enlightenment, it helps everybody else. And now with all the wisdom that I'm sharing, I'm helping everyone have the capacity to experience enlightenment. Because with the women in the emotional center, if the mother can experience enlightenment, then the whole family can experience enlightenment, and they can process their emotions a lot faster, and then they have access to their full emotional range. So just because I experience enlightenment doesn't mean I don't, you know, experience shame, guilt, and fear. I just know how to process it. You know, I follow Carl Jung, where your fear is, there is your task. I face my fears every day, and I come out of them every day. But now it's because I'm healthy. So anyway, but you like that picture, the picture there my daughter took. I live in Ventura, California, and there's a cross there. It's called the Cross, from the mission there in Ventura, California. So anyway, I hope Matt liked it. That's my answer to, you know, what is a woman, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about it, and maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to talk to Matt myself. But please like and subscribe, and, you know, check out my meditation and shamanic drumming video that will help you open your heart and ground and learn how to listen to yourself. I take a DIY approach to trauma healing. I learned to do it myself, so I shared that in the wisdom. It's linked below. I mean, you'll see it. It's, you know, right here. It's all over my Instagram account. You can get a copy of the free ebook if you'd like. And anyway, take care. Thanks for listening. Bye.